Okay, hello, welcome, welcome back for another session. Um, I'm, I think this is going to probably be a little bit longer, although I'm really going to try and keep it under 30 minutes. Um, and I almost chose to make two videos today on two separate topics because I don't like when I get uh, blurry with my intent and I start talking about one thing but then bring in a tangent and then don't finish up the original topic and don't go in enough detail. So I was going to make one video on one topic and another on a second topic, but I think I can blend from one into the other. So I just don't want to overload you guys with having too much to listen to. As you can see, I'm kind of spaced out today. I've only been awake for 2 hours. I was up until 6 a.m. this morning, contemplating what I was going to say today, but going through a lot of, stuff in my mind about these topics. And this is getting into the heart of what I said I came here to talk about being bipolar. So, okay, let me get into the first topic and let's just see where it goes. So, the first topic is about my ability to work and hold a job. And I was going to focus on just talking about door dashing because door dashing has been, at this late stage in my life, it's been the most successful experience I've had with being consistent as far as being an employee, even though I'm not really an employee, I'm an independent contractor. But as far as being able to make the money that I feel like I need to make, DoorDash has been a good experience doing that. Mainly, the things that work for me is making my own schedule. That means, I can look at a week ahead. I can go into the scheduling part of the app. I can say I want to work this chunk of hours on this particular day, and then it's completely flexible. It's like, oh, Tuesday comes up. You said you were going to work from 2 to 6, but what if Tuesday gets here and I don't feel like working? There's no penalty. What the nice thing to do is cancel the shift so that it opens up that time slot for another driver. That's what they say, at least. But even if I don't show up, there's no penalty for not showing up, which is kind of cool. It's so lax. One of the negative things about DoorDash is there's no guarantee you're going to get any orders. That didn't used to be the case a few years ago. I started DoorDashing in 2018, and so that's 6 years ago. The first 3 years, I DoorDashed a lot. The last 3 years, it's gone down. I haven't DoorDashed that much at all. But I've done over 2,600 deliveries, and I've made lots of money. I mean, in my estimation, for me, for what my goals have been, I've made lots of money. Because I'm on Social Security disability, I don't have to pay taxes. I paid taxes the first year, and Social Security, or no, not Social Security. Well, IRS. I got onto the phone with the IRS because I wanted to make sure I did it right. I did. I forecasted my taxes or something quarterly, and I sent in money each quarter, so I didn't have to pay money at the end of the year. And then they ended up giving it all back to me. But for some reason, I got on the phone and was talking to them, and they said because of my status with Social Security being disabled, I wasn't supposed to be paying taxes. And they said, don't bother us. Don't waste our time by doing this again. Don't send your money. And I was like, okay. And then I called Social Security to verify that, and they said, yeah. And I said, what if I get like a regular job, which later that year, that year, 2018, I did. I worked for Pete's Coffee that year. I worked for Savers that year, and I worked for DoorDash. So I had legitimate W4s, are those tax forms? I don't know. W2s. I had, the paperwork to send in for my taxes. And they said, don't. So I took their word at it, and I haven't done any taxes since. But I have not made as much money again as I made in 2018. Anyway, I like DoorDashing. The reason I like DoorDashing, I've told you one, the flexibility, and then I can also cut out in the middle of a shift. If I'm in a shift and I'm not getting any orders, that's kind of a waste of time, and it's frustrating. And I'll just say, maybe today's just not the day I'm going to make any money, and I'll take off. I'll go for a hike. I've told my friends about this. They have heard this story many times. Okay, what else? Where was I going with this? So this year, DoorDashing has been pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. I started dashing in January and had a couple of months where I was making, close to the money I hoped to make, but nowhere as good as it used to be. I used to be able to my best days were Saturday and Sunday. I would sign on at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, finish by 5, maybe 6 at the latest. I'd make $100 or more in that 4 or 5 hours. 2 days in a row, I could do that. During the week, you can't do it as well, except maybe Friday night. I don't deliver at night anymore because my vision I've got old man eyes, and I just can't see as well at night. In the beginning, I did dash at night. The other thing about DoorDashing is the expense of gas, the wear and tear on your car. This is an old car. I told you before, this is a 30-year-old car. This is a car that's supposed to last like a really long time. This is a Toyota Corolla from the 90s. These cars are supposed to be able to push 300, 400,000 miles on them. I think the reading on my odometer might not be accurate. It says it's got 170,000 on it, which sounds really low for a 30-year-old car. But it feels good. I mean, it's really nice. But I think DoorDashing in my previous car, my smart car, which got amazing mileage, gas was cheaper back then when that car was running, but I think DoorDashing broke that car down, and that car is sitting in my garage in need of repairs. For me to get that car running again, I need $3,000 to have the timing belt replaced. Okay, yeah, this is going to end up being 2 videos because I'm doing what I said I would do. I was just going to talk about DoorDash and work. Yeah, $3,000 just to get the car running. Well, actually, it still runs now, but the timing belt is just like, they know that that's what's going out. It needs to be replaced. I don't want to be out driving and the car break down. And I mean, it would be okay because I've got AAA, but I was thinking I don't want that to happen in the middle of a delivery shift or something. If I had that car running, I would get enthusiastic about DoorDashing again, because I can make money that's not going straight back into the gas tank, which is the situation now. The gas in this car is, the gas mileage in this car is atrocious. Okay, keep this focused, keep this focused. Where are you going with this? Okay, so I mentioned working at Savers and at Pete's Coffee. Two pretty easy jobs that most anybody could do. But I've really had a hard time working for those places. Not because I'm not energetic and willing and will work hard doing whatever. Oh, and I didn't even mention Whole Foods. God. Okay, maybe I am going to diverge into the talk about mental health and about bipolar. I believe it's my bipolar traits that make it difficult for me to have a job, to do a regular job. Okay, where did the bipolar start? Where did the depression start? Depression started in my early teens. My dad died when I was 11. Pretty much right after that, I started to experience depression. I didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody in my family knew what it was. Eventually, my mom started to kind of clue in. And I remember I was probably in 10th grade, and I was called out of class to go to the administration office to sit with somebody and talk to somebody. And it turned out it was like the school psychologist or something. And it was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. I really felt uncomfortable, had no idea who the guy was, what he was after. He asked very short, pointed questions, and I basically didn't really have anything to say. I think if I had known who he was and what he was after, it might have helped, but nobody told me. And then I never saw him again. When I was around 16 or 17, I had my first encounter with seriously depressed thinking and suicidal ideations. And the thing that kind of brought that on, that brought it to a head, was a crush I had on a girl at school who had no interest in me. And yeah, I remember really feeling like I wanted to end my life. And I was a spiritual person at this time in my life, and I prayed, and the answer I got in prayer to the suffering I was in was, if you kill yourself, you're not going to be able to walk on beaches anymore. That picture of that experience in my mind was what saved me. And I thought, I can be depressed, I can be sad, I can be upset, but I could at least still go for a walk on a beach. Somehow that saved me, and I was grateful. And then shortly after that, I got over the crush on the girl, and I turned out to be fine for a while. Other things would depress me later. After high school ended and I went away to college, I got depressed. Probably one of the worst depressions. Definitely. I was suicidal again. Yeah, being suicidal is something that became kind of regular for me in my late teens, my early 20s. That's also when I started to experiment with drugs. I should never have been exposed to drugs or alcohol. I really should never have been. I was kind of protected because of my faith, the religious experience I had when I was 13. I should have been on a safe and steady path. I should have had, good friends that would have helped me keep my faith. And I strayed, I wandered. And in that mixture of going to college, dropping out of college, going to DVC, the junior college, using drugs, um, my faith failing, the life I was hoping for and praying for was not coming about. Yeah, I was on a timeline that was headed towards self-destruction. I really was. But then I had an experience where I prayed for an answer. And the answer I felt I needed was to have a partner, a life partner that I could work with. Oh my God, I was not going to go into this story. Shoot. See, this is what I do. I go into tangents and I go really deep, and we're already at 15 minutes. Fuck, excuse me. Where I was going to go was in my early 30s when Billy was born. My son was born. My son, God, just even remembering these things now is depressing me now. It's bringing up the pools of the depressed energy. Okay, I'm going to try and stay focused. I wanted to tell the story about Billy broke his arm, which was a terrible and he had a cast, and I took him to the hospital when his arm was healed to get the cast off of his arm. See, I'm going into way too much detail. This is the way I write. When I write my fiction, I do the same thing. So they have that little diamond-bladed saw that can't cut your skin, and they turn it on and to cut the cast off his arm. Well, as soon as Billy saw that go near his body, he passed out. He was flat on his back. When I saw him do that, I had to get out of the room. I went out into the hallway. I saw a door at the end of the hall that had a window, and I saw, sunlight. I'm going to go outside and get some fresh air. It was just a few steps away. I go out this door, and then all of a sudden everything's black. And I passed out. And apparently when I passed out, I hit my head on the concrete corner of the building, and I put this big gash in my head. The point of telling this story is head injuries are related to the development of bipolar disorder. Or at least this is something I read at some point in time. And so that's what I've always registered as a turning point in my mental health, because I had only been depressed before. I had never been manic. The mania didn't really start until a couple of years after that. And I think when I got involved with City Yoga, and especially the practice of chanting, I think that became something I started to become manic about. Overzealous, over enthusiastic. I mean, it's not really a good example of what mania is, but I don't think I really ever had that kind of behavior until my mid-30s. And chanting was one of the things I would get crazy, insane, enthusiastic about. I mean, we had chants that would last for 2 or 3 days over a holiday weekend, around the clock, and I would go and sit and chant for 10 hours a day. And I had never had anything in my life like that before. But in other ways, other times, mania took on more nefarious stuff. Shoot. Boy. Now I'm to the point where I think I might like to delete this video. And I gotta pull back. Where was I going with this? Where was I going with this? The mood swings. Okay, the mood swings got really bad in my mid to late 30s when I was at the University of California in Santa Cruz. And combined with, okay, so after my time in the ashram, which lasted about 10 years, somehow, well, actually, it happened when I went to UCSC. I started to drink alcohol again. And I had never had a period in my time where I had college stage drinking buddies that I was in college with. The other people that I drank with weren't really in college. I don't even want to go back to that memory of my initial period with drug use and alcohol. But when I was in college, I had one buddy in particular who was kind of bad news for me in a way, but we just got along. We were like old soulmates in some ways. We got along really well in a lot of ways, and being drinking buddies was something else I guess we were destined to do. The first time we decided to go out, I said, let's go get coffee. Let's go sit in a coffee shop. And he's like, oh, okay. And we got the coffee. But then before we even finished the coffee, he goes, I know another place that I think we should go to. And I said, oh, okay. And we left the coffee shop and walked around the corner to a pub, an Irish pub, a very popular Irish pub that I ended up spending a lot of time in over the next few years. A lot of time, too much time. Okay. So when I was in college at UCSC, pursuing what I thought was my life's calling to become an anthropologist with a focus on alternative healthcare. You know what? I'm going to pause this for a minute and see if I can get refocused. I hate long videos. I usually watch long videos. I do. I really do. But I feel guilty about making a long video. And I don't want to say things that are going to make somebody bored and say, oh my God, why am I watching this? So I'm going to pause for a minute. Okay. That was only a minute. Part of the reason I needed to pause is just because the emotions that are coming up, I'm getting kind of overwhelmed by. And so it's hard. This is hard for me to talk about. But this is what I also have as my intention when I started this channel and wanted to make these videos. I wanted to come across, I wanted to be authentic and vulnerable. So this is me being vulnerable. I was scheduled to graduate from UCSC in 1996. I started there in 94. I should have only needed 2 years to complete my bachelor's degree. Probably, and since I came in with, I was a single parent, I was given allowances. My son, Billy, he lived with me on the college campus. So I was allowed to take a little bit longer to complete my program. So instead of just 2 years, they were thinking 3 years would sound really good. In that third year, I wanted to take a break from the courses I had been taking. I said, I just want to take one fun class. And they had a class that was being taught by an expert. There's another word for it. On James Joyce. And